Hi everyone, I'm Mama Maro.
And I'm Pia Balagtas.
And I am Myla Basco.
And we are from
Avia Tech TV.
When you will only realize na ganito pala kanila kung yung
So for today's vlog, ay makakasama natin ang isang director for in-flight services ng Pan Pacific Airlines. So it is an honor to introduce Miss Maria Lourdes Soliman. Hi, Miss!
Hi! Good afternoon, everyone! Good afternoon.
Ayan, Miss. Pwede po bang i-introduce nyo yourself sa mga aspirants, cabin crew?
I've been with the airline industry for 19 years now and running. I've been an in-flight manager from way back from 2008 up to present.
For your college life, saan po kayo nag-college and ano po yung tinake nyo na degree?
Okay, I graduated at the Lyceum of the Philippines University in Manila. I took the course of Bachelor of Science in Foreign Service, major in diplomacy.
And is it a dream to become a cabin crew someday?
And initially, no. Initially, it was not really my dream to be a flight attendant. Like every girl's say that it's a childhood dream, but for me, it wasn't. Being a flight attendant wasn't also my first career. However, during the course of having, meeting people, I met somebody from the industry which gave me a hint of wanting to try.
How about tita yung career nyo? When did it all start?
Well, it started, because I trained as a flight attendant way back in 2003. I rose from the rank. Like what I said, I became an in-flight manager at an early age, I guess. I was, if I'm not mistaken, I think 27 years old. I was already the in-flight manager for ZES Airways Inc. Airlines. So, that's it.
So first time po guys, makamit ng isang director of in-flight service of Pan Pacific Airlines. So ma'am, what's the role of in-flight service manager? Or what are the duties or responsibilities of in-flight service?
Okay, so basically, actually, director for in-flight services and manager for in-flight services, so basically just the same. It's just that me being the director of in-flight services, normally the manager forms part or is under the flight operations department. But for my case now, it's separate. It's a separate department from flight operations. So basically, I'm in charge of the entire cabin crew myself. Okay, my roles and duties as in-flight director. Of course, basically everything for the cabin crew, from their physical well-being, emotional, and of course intellectual, which physical is to make sure that they maintain what they are how they're supposed to show themselves to public. That's basically customer service. Also emotional, of course, I have to make sure that they're always up for the job. Bawal and emotionally unstable. If you're emotionally unstable, of course, that will reflect on your personality. That will reflect on your customer service at the same time. Intellectual naman, that's because there are technical skills or technical knowledge that we need to impart to the cabin crew. So maybe we can discuss about that later on.
So pwede po kayong tawagin na big boss or the boss of the ITDO, all of those cabin crew na nagtatrabaho po sa Pan Pacific.
Yes, of course.
Oh.
So you always have to watch out for the boss.
Okay, so Tita, I'll just call you Tita.
Yes.
Okay. So, I would like to know, handling those cabin crew, what are the most challenges or what is the most remarkable character that you have encountered before?
Well, when you handle cabin, of course, they come from different places. They practice different values and culture. So if there's something remarkable with how you handle them, so basically the combination of all those different culture, different attitudes of all the girls, sometimes also the boys, but you have to be able to handle them because of course they came from different families. Their moral values are different. So you cannot just implement one value to them. I cannot implement my own value to my flight attendants or to my cabin crew. So you have to understand each and every values they have and be able to deal with them individually.
Wow. Tita, ito po, personal question.
Yes.
Kasi of course, I just know how to become a flight attendant.
Yes.
That's just my dream.
Yes.
Ay, feeling ko hanggang doon lang eh. Pero every time natatanungin ka, oh, flight attendant, so ayun talaga yung pinaka-dream ng lahat.
Yes.
Sabihin mo, yes, ayun.
Yes.
Pero there's something inside me na I want to be more.
Mhm.
And ngayon ko lang din nalaman, everyone, ngayon ko lang din nalaman na may in-flight manager pala, may in-flight supervisor pala, na mga ganun. Tita, paano po maging in-flight manager? Ano po yung mga kailangan namin pagdaanan from becoming a junior flight attendant to becoming in-flight manager?
Like what I told a while ago, I rose from the rank. So pag sinabi ni rose from the rank, when I started, there are other bosses. Diba? Of course, there are other bosses. So I have to make sure that more than I impress them, I do my job well. Because when you do your job well, you get promoted from the position. It's always a racket. There's a hierarchy in that life. Diba? For sure, you know that there's a chain of command. In that chain of command, you have to start from the bottom, and they always aim to be somebody that all the junior flight attendants will look up to. So each time I fly, way back then, I always make sure that I do not impress. I do not impress because I'm nice and I'm kind, but I impress because I do my job well, regardless of the situation. There are standards that you have to follow, so I make sure that they follow the standards. I follow them by the book, but I don't intimidate people.
When we say by the book, is it about the flight attendant manual?
Yes, it's about the flight attendant manual. The flight attendant manual comprises everything that you have to learn. There are procedures that you have to follow. Of course, we're not there just for glamour. We're not there just for customer service, but we're there to be prepared for something, for an incident that, of course, nobody wants to happen. So those are the standard operating procedures that we need to follow each time.
The SOP or the standards operating procedures varies per airline.
Yes, it varies from airline.
So, Tita Des, anong pong klaseng mga manuals yung mga kailangan pag-aralan ng mga flight attendants?
Basically, for the cabin crew department, we have two manuals. If you go technical, we have two manuals. It's a cabin crew training program manual that comprises all the outline, the module, the syllabus of what you have to learn for the entire cabin crew course. And then we have this cabin crew operations manual. The cabin crew operation manual is subdivided into chapters, which comprises, of course, your company policies and procedures, your conditions of carriage or your passenger handling. That basically is customer service and guest operations services. You have your first aid. You have aviation first aid. Of course, you have your survival and security training. You have your emergency equipment. You have your specific aircraft training. Depends on what specific aircraft type you'll study. You have your emergency procedures training.
Okay, so based po dun sa dalawang manuals na pinag-aaralan, ano po yung anong part po doon yung pinaka-nahihirapan yung mga flight attendant to perform?
Lahat ata. No, for me, when I was flying cabin, it's of course emergency procedures. It's difficult because it's not only technical, it's not only in the book that you have to memorize and that's it. Of course, there are examinations, manual exam, but more than that, you have to perform practical exam also. So all the subjects, it's the emergency procedures training. It's a rigid training that comprises both manual, technical, and practical skills.
Tita, for fun side po. Kasi ang dami namin naririnig from the professors, ng cabin crew, and of course, sa mga experiences from the cabin crews din na nakilala namin. What kind of in-flight manager are you? Strict po ba kayo? Kailangan ba? Ano po ba? Opo, sweet po ba kayo? Napapaglilipad ko na?
Yes.
How about the question?
Okay.
How do you describe
I describe myself. Ano ka sabi sa akin mo? Well, I'm strict, yes I am. When it comes to standards, of course. But you can talk to me in person. I'm not the type of boss na boss yan. You have to pass through the supervisor or before you can get to her. No, anybody in the rank can talk to me. I accept private messages from any of my cabin crew. If you have issues or anything, you can directly inform me and then I will help you resolve it. But when I ask somebody of the standards, I always need to make sure that they know the standards. I'm not the type of person, I'm not the type of manager na friends lang or char lang, diba? And then okay na, no.
Going back to the manual, tita, kailan ba to kailangan? Sa training na po ba to dala-dala ninyo? Or just like a school?
No. The manuals, as long as flight attendant kayo, need the manual.
Oh. Parang
Sa tingin nyo, ano laman ng luggage bag ng flight attendant? It's your manual.
Paano yung I don't know. Hindi kasi, di ba, ang funny, pero pag emergency na, bubuksan mo ba yun?
That's the
Or
English
bakit
kasi
po?
na nagtatapos sa amin. Magka-crash naman, bubukas pa kayo ng ganun.
Ano po reason?
Because the manual naman is not only, doesn't only reflect the emergency procedures. Example, passenger handling, you're in doubt of deciding on something, you always have reference. The manual naman, it's not you don't have to memorize the entire manual. Diba? The manual is always there for your reference. We have a manual inside the aircraft. You have a copy of the manual in your bag just in case you have to review something or you just have to refer on something for a decision. For each flight, you have to decide, you have to always refer to the manual. Remember, the manual is the Bible of the flight attendant. More than handling the passengers, more than the emergency procedures, that will save you. That will save you from liabilities. Because whatever is there, that's what you're expected to perform.
Kaya pala sinasabi nila lagi na you should know the manual
By heart.
Of course, yes.
kasi ganun nga.
Yes.
Then, I have additional question with regards sa manual. As you have mentioned, tita, kanina, na there is a revision and you will take exam, exam. So, every time na may revision ng manual you have to take another practical exam and all over again?
Actually, since for all Philippine carrier, we are being governed by GAP or the Philippine GAP, and their manual is the Philippine Civil Aviation Regulation. So there's this regulatory body that we have to adopt or to comply with. So each time we revise a portion of our manual that will tackle on the emergency procedures or the practical technicalities in our manual, we have to do a different SES training so that we'll be able to impart the knowledge to the flight attendants. For some other portions of the manual which doesn't require the training, we need to issue a bulletin, a safety bulletin. So basically, it's still the responsibility of the in-flight manager to ensure that each cabin crew, each flight attendant knows all the revisions of the manual.
Also, there's no safety bulletins is like the announcement po na merong revision.
Yes, for any procedures that you want to implement as soon as possible and doesn't require practical training.
Alright. How often merong revision ang FA manual?
Oh, that depends on the company. Of course, for example, another aircraft type is a revision. That will require another training. Each airline doesn't have only one one type of aircraft. So there are some airlines which has a lot of aircraft. So you have to study each rating, each aircraft individually. So that's part of a revision of the manual. Emergency equipment. Not all airlines can get an aircraft with similar equipment. So once there's it's different, then we have to do a revision of our manual. And since emergency equipment needs to be done, you need to be trained to undergo practical training on the equipment, on the different equipment. Then you have to undergo the princess training. Then also you have to revise the manual.
Ma'am, ano po yung mga examples ng equipments na na-mention nyo? Ano po siya inside the aircraft?
Okay, those equipments that I was talking about, we call them the safety equipment. Okay, why safety equipment? Because these are the equipments that we will use basically in case of emergency or any incident on board. Example of which, of course, we call it me. When I teach the cabin crew, I have 5 types of equipment. I have firefighting equipment. Under the firefighting equipment, we have your DCF or your fire extinguisher. You have your smoke hood, or you have your portable breathing equipment. You have your fireproof gloves. You have therapeutic equipment that composed of your portable oxygen bottles. What else? That's it. Of course, your mask. We have restraint that's your restraint ties. We have survival equipment, so that's your life vest, that's your locator transmitter. What else? You have kits. You have emergency medical kits, you have first aid kits, you have daily first aid kits. That's it.
Ngayon po, di ba na nasa COVID era? COVID era. Pero yan, nasa tayo ng COVID. May nadagdag po ba doon sa equipments na yun? Or talagang
Hindi naman siya delegated because sa handling of the passenger and the procedure, yes, of course. When we do, for example, a safety demo, we don't don the mask anymore. We don't don the mask because, of course, because of the situation. So we just show them.
So yun, ang dami pala nating equipments na we need to learn before.
memorize.
Yeah, we need to learn or to memorize kapag flight attendant ka na. So hindi po talaga biro, no? And it's really from your safety talaga dapat ng passengers.
Buhay ang nakataya.
Yes.
Tama.
Buhay kasi natin eh.
Not just us, the passenger as well.
And the aircraft.
Yes.
Aircraft.
Your equipment also.
So Tita, let me just clarify this. Your position as an in-flight manager and as a director, nasan ka doon? Nasa flight ka po ba or
Sa
sa ground?
Actually, if you want to be an in-flight manager and you want to be the manager of all the flight attendant, you have to maintain your currency also. So when I say you have to maintain your currency, you have to be able to still fly the line. And then every time I also can fly the line like other flight attendants do. And I also do check flights. So I check them. I check them if they follow the SOPs. And then of course each flight attendant is required to do recurrent training. So every year you have to retrain yourself.
Okay. Tita, ano po yung check ride? Para sa mas may
Check ride is like on the job training with a manager or an in-flight checker.
Then recurrent training is...
Recurrent training is required every year. So even if you fly as often as possible, each year you have to undergo a recurrent training or else you cannot fly.
So after pala ng mga 2 to 3 months training, every year kailangan din pala matin para yung mga
Para hindi nire-refresh
Oo,
tayo.
para hindi natin makalimutan.
Yes.
Ito yung tinatawag yung refreshers exam or
Yes,
training.
yes,
Okay,
yes.
Tita. So, as you have mentioned, you are in flight and also on ground. And when you're on ground, how do you build trust with your subordinates who is flying without you?
Basically, this is what I always tell my cabin. I never ask them to do something that I cannot do myself. So parang if I fly with them, they always see how I work. So it's for me, I trust them. It's up to them if they will follow what I instructed them to do or not. Kasi basically, even you, if I will ask you, will I be able to build your trust if I will show you that even if something is really hard to do and I'll show you that I can do it.
And that's how you can see the teamwork,
Yes.
the teamwork. Kaya
Yes.
have cabin crew because you work as one.
Yes,
And
you're supposed to be a team. In fact, when I call the cabin crew, I call them as team members or team. I don't address cabin crew individually. When I do memos, when I shoot memos or email, I always address my cabin crew as team members. In-flight team or IFS team.
Actually, nakakatawa ako gusto sabihin ko. Kasi parang ang saya pa na pakinggan na yung makausap tayo na isang director. Parang galing sa kanya pa na.
Gandang eye-opener kasi Tita na as a student din kasi before na na-build namin sarili na wala, maganda ako,
Magaling
ako. dun pala darating niya sa, work, it's a team. It's a we, it's us.
It's not about you. You
Yes.
may be able to perform your best, but that won't save everyone.
Yes.
Kung magaling talaga yung isang leader nyo, lahat kayo gagaling. O, aangat kayo lahat. Hindi yung ako lang aangat.
Yes,
Kita,
yes,
hindi
yes.
pwede.
It
Team
goes
kayo. Kasi kapag nag-save kayo ng buhay, lahat kayo sisave. Diba? Galing kita.
And for every successful manager is a good subordinate.
Tita, for being an in-flight manager for 14 years, what are the values that you realize na the junior year na ganito pala dapat?
Well, when I became the in-flight manager, of course, the value of responsibility. Diba? Whatever task given to you, you have to make sure that you do it not really 100%, but you always have to do your best. And of course, the value of integrity. Integrity and honesty to your subordinates is very important. And your word, when you say a word, because if you're a boss, when you're an in-flight manager, once you say or utter a word, that will hit all the cabin crew. Parang you have to serve as an example. So sometimes there are times also na you don't want to work, you're lazy. That cannot be, you always need to be up for work because that's what you expect your flight attendants to be. So even, bawal lang bad hair day. Sana nila. Diba? There's no bad hair day. Walang, away kami jowa ko or what? No. Because that's not acceptable. That's not acceptable for me, for the flight attendant. So why will I do it, diba? So I have to maintain that position. And whatever it is I ask them to do, or how I want them to perform, I have to make sure that I do it or I practice it myself first.
And of course, lastly, any words from our future cabin crew?
Well, for the rest of the aspirants for the flight attendant or the cabin crew position, first and foremost, it's not a pageant. It's not a beauty. It's not about beauty. It's not about the glamour of being able to dress up in the flight attendant uniform, going around places. It's not about that. It's about how you really wanted the job. It's about intellect also. It's very important that you study well. It's not about just doing your makeup perfectly and smiling to passengers. It's not about that. Because even before you pass the flight attendant course, that's maybe when you will only realize na ganito pala kahirap maging flight attendant. And for the many years of experience, for each and every batch na graduate, they will always come to me and tell me, Miss Des, hindi ko akalain iiyak pala ako for this training. Na parang, Miss Des, I was out of the world for the 2 months training. Ang kaharap ko lang yung manual. At saka I have to go wake up early because I need to memorize, I need to prepare for the training and so forth. So you have to be ready. You have to be ready for the job. And I think naman everyone who's really an aspirant of the position will get it as long as you put it in.
Ayan, kaya nga sabi nila, di ba, huwag ka lang mangarap, kundi dapat gumawa ka ng paraan para maabot ang inyong pangarap. And part, of course, ng nangangarap is to do the hard work.
Yes.
To believe in oneself. And of course, yung faith na you can do it and God is with you through it. Quotable quotes yun. So ayan, we thank you so much, Miss Des, for this interview.
Thank you for the opportunity to share my experience also for the group and for the rest of the people who's watching your
Ayan, thank you so much everyone and sana marami kayo ulit natutunan for this vlog na episode for our future flight attendants. Once again, I am Mav Amaro.
And then Pia Balagdas.
And I am Myla Vasco.
And we are Avia Tech TV.